Chapter 10: Alcohol and Drug Impact on the Driving Ability. Any drug may affect a person's ability to drive. Millions of people take over-the-counter and prescription medications, illegal drugs, or drink alcohol and do not realize they may affect the mental and physical, psychomotor skills necessary to operate a vehicle and react to external events while driving a vehicle. Each individual is different. The driving skills of persons taking the same drug may be affected differently. A driver's body weight, emotional state, amount of drug taken, and when the drug was taken will influence the driver's ability to assess an emergency situation or judge speed and distance. Safe driving always requires an observant eye, a steady hand, and a clear head. When a person drinks alcohol or uses drugs, one of the first effects is they lose their judgment and their sight is impaired, causing slower reactions to sounds and the inability to judge another vehicle's speed. A person's ability to reason can all but disappear. Good judgment may be as simple as saying no to a friend who wants to race their car. However, if a person has been drinking alcohol or they are under the influence of drugs, their judgment may turn into, sure, take my car. Taking more than one drug at the same time is even more dangerous since drugs may have a different overall cumulative effect, especially when alcohol is involved. Besides escalating the overall effects of the other drugs, alcohol can also mask the effects of those drugs, increasing a person's risk of poor decision-making and/or slowing responsive reactions to situations. You should always check with a doctor or pharmacist before taking more than one type of drug or mixing drugs, especially tranquilizers or sedatives. Table 25. Alcohol and other types of drugs. Type description. Marijuana research shows even typical social doses of marijuana can affect concentration, judgment, and sensory and perceptual skills needed for careful driving. People who are under marijuana influence have impaired sensory and perceptual abilities. Stimulants-heavy amphetamine use may keep drivers awake and active for long periods of time. It also makes them less coordinated, edgy, and more likely to be involved in a car crash. Research shows typical social amounts of cocaine can produce lapses in attention and concentration. While caffeine can help drowsy drivers stay alert, it can't make a drunk driver sober. Studies show ordinary amounts of caffeine don't improve a drunk driver's ability to operate a vehicle. Tranquilizers/sedative hypnotics. Tranquilizers/sedative hypnotic drugs, including barbiturates, are powerful depressants which calm people down or help them sleep. Tired or oversedated drivers are not good drivers. Over-the-counter drugs. Many over-the-counter drugs cause drowsiness in some people, which can affect their driving. Read the labels. And be careful with antihistamines, other cold preparations, or any medicine that relaxes or promotes sleep. Any drug might affect your ability as a driver. If you take more than one drug, or if you mix drugs, especially tranquilizers or other sedative hypnotics with alcohol, you could be asking for trouble on the road and off. If you have doubts about a drug or drug mix, check with a doctor or pharmacist. Alcohol. Each year, alcohol, a depressant drug affecting coordination, judgment, perception, and emotional state, is responsible for a significant number of highway deaths. Alcohol increases the depressant effects of tranquilizers and barbiturates. Mixing these drugs, on or off the road, can be hazardous. The number one killer is alcohol. Driving while intoxicated, DWI, is a problem affecting all Texans. According to the calendar year 2018 Texas Motor Vehicle Traffic Crash Facts, TxDOT, 940 persons were killed in a motor vehicle traffic crash with a driver under the influence of alcohol. Alcohol-related crashes represent 26% of the total number of persons killed in motor vehicle traffic crashes. The Centers for Disease Control, CDC, states that the leading cause of death for U.S. teens is accidental, and most of those are motor vehicle crashes. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, 3,255 teen, age 15 to 19 drivers were involved in fatal crashes in 2017, and nearly 25% of those had been drinking. In 2018, TxDOT reports that nearly 7% of all fatal crashes involved a driver under the age of 21 who was under the influence of alcohol. Texas law does not allow any amount of blood alcohol concentration, BAC, for minors. To make Texas safer, the Texas legislature enacted laws to deter people from drinking and driving by penalizing those who choose to drink and drive. In Texas, a person age 21 and over is considered legally intoxicated if the person has a BAC of 0.08 or more. Driving while intoxicated, DWI, and driving under the influence, DUI arrest can be a humiliating experience and are costly. Some fines range as high as $10,000, not including the cost of a bail bondsman, attorney, or other court-required expenses. Is it worth the risk? Open container. It is illegal to possess an open container of alcohol in a motor vehicle passenger area located on a public highway, regardless of whether the vehicle is being operated, stopped, or parked. Conviction of this offense is punishable by a fine not to exceed $500. Myths about drinking alcohol. Taking cold showers, drinking black coffee, or exercising will not make a person sober. Only time based on body weight, number of drinks, and food intake can minimize the effects of alcohol. It takes about 1 hour for the body to rid itself of each drink consumed. If a person has been drinking, someone who has not been drinking should drive. Texas tough alcohol-related laws for minors. Zero tolerance for minors. According to the Texas Alcohol Beverage Code, a minor is any individual who is under 21 years of age. A minor may not purchase, attempt to purchase, consume, or possess an alcoholic beverage. Since a minor should not possess alcohol, Texas passed zero-tolerance legislation for minors who commit an offense under the non-driving alcohol-related laws and for minors who drive under the influence. Zero tolerance means just that. Even if a minor is not intoxicated as defined under the DWI statute, but has any detectable amount of alcohol in his or her system while operating a motor vehicle in a public place or while operating a watercraft, the minor committed the criminal offense of driving under the influence of alcohol by a minor. See Table 31. Penalties for non-driving alcohol-related offenses by minors. The Texas Zero Tolerance Law established penalties for minors who commit offenses under the non-driving alcohol-related offenses. A minor may not purchase, attempt to purchase, falsely state he/she is 21 years of age or older, or present any document indicating he/she is 21 years of age or older to a person engaged in the selling or serving of alcoholic beverages. A minor may not consume or possess an alcoholic beverage. Persons who purchase, furnish, or sell alcohol to a minor can be fined up to $4,000 and/or confined in jail for up to 1 year. Table 26. Penalties for non-driving alcohol-related offenses, minors. Offense penalty. First offense Class C misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of up to $500, 8 to 12 hours of community service mandatory. Attendance of an alcohol awareness course and license will be suspended or privilege denied if not licensed for 30 days. If the minor is under 18, the parent may be required to also attend the alcohol awareness course. Second offense Class C misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of up to $500, 20 to 40 hours of community service, may be required to attend an alcohol awareness course and license will be suspended or privilege denied if not licensed for 60 days. Third offense. Under 17 years of age. Class C misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of up to $500, 20 to 40 hours of community service, may be required to attend an alcohol awareness course and license will be suspended or privilege denied if not licensed for 60 days, or case can be transferred to juvenile court. Third offense. 17 to 21 years of age. Class B misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of $250 to $2,000, 40 to 60 hours of community service, may be required to attend an alcohol awareness course, confinement in jail not to exceed 180 days, and license will be suspended or privilege denied if not licensed for 180 days. Minors are not eligible for deferred disposition or adjudication on the third conviction and every conviction after. In addition to the above penalties, if a minor is convicted of any moving vehicle violation while suspended due to a non-driving alcohol-related offense listed above, they are subject to the penalties of driving while license invalid, DWLI. Implied consent laws for minors. A minor implies their consent to take one or more breath or blood specimen for analysis if they are arrested for operating a motor vehicle or watercraft in a public place while intoxicated, or if there is any detectable or noticeable amount of alcohol in their system. while operating a motor vehicle in a public place as deemed by an officer. The breath or blood specimen will determine if alcohol is present in their body. It will also identify the amount of alcohol in their system. Additionally, the breath or blood specimen can identify the presence of any other controlled substances or drugs. Refusal to provide a breath or blood specimen will result in the suspension of the minor's license or driving privileges if not licensed. Table 27. Penalties for refusal to provide a specimen minors. Offense penalty. First offense, driver license suspended or privilege denied if not licensed for 180 days. Second and subsequent offenses, driver license suspended or privilege denied if not licensed for 2 years. A minor who gives a breath or blood specimen that confirms he or she has been operating a motor vehicle in a public place with any detectable amount of alcohol in his or her system, and the amount is below the 0.08 BAC legal limit of intoxication will have his or her license suspended or driving privilege denied if not licensed. Table 28. Minor provided specimen confirming detectable amount of alcohol. Failure. Offense penalty. First offense, driver license suspended or privilege denied if not licensed for 60 days. Second offense, driver license suspended or privilege denied if not licensed for 120 days. Third and subsequent offenses, driver license suspended or privilege denied if not licensed for 180 days. A minor may request a hearing before a hearing officer to contest the suspension. Table 29. Penalties for driving under the influence, DUI, of alcohol and drugs, minors. Offense penalty. First offense, Class C misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of up to $500, community service of 20 to 40 hours, and attendance in an alcohol awareness course is required. If the minor is under 18, the parent may be required to also attend the course. Second offense, Class C misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of up to $500, community service of 40 to 60 hours. The alcohol awareness course may be required. Third offense, under 17 years of age, Class C misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of up to $500, community service of 40 to 60 hours. The alcohol awareness course may be required, or the case can be transferred to juvenile court as delinquent conduct. Third offense, 17 to 21 years of age, Class B misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of $500 to $2,000 and or confinement in jail not to exceed 180 days. Community service of 40 to 60 hours. An alcohol awareness course may be required, and the minor's license will be suspended or privilege denied if not licensed for 1 year or for 90 days with a judge's order to install an ignition interlock device. The court may not give deferred disposition or adjudication on the third offense. See Table 29 and Table 30 for the applicable suspension periods. In Texas, as a reminder, a person is considered legally intoxicated if they have a blood alcohol concentration, BAC, of 0.08 or more. Table 30. Penalties for driving while intoxicated, alcohol, minors. Offense penalty. First offense, Class B misdemeanor, punishable by a fine not to exceed $2,000, confinement in jail for 72 hours to 180 days, suspension of the driver license or privilege denied if not licensed for 365 days, or for 90 days with a judge's order, to install an ignition interlock device. The court may probate the jail sentence and waive the license suspension on the first offense only. Possession of an open container of an alcoholic beverage increases the minimum confinement to 6 days. Second offense, Class A misdemeanor, punishable by a fine not to exceed $4,000, confinement in jail for 30 days to 1 year, and suspension of the driver license or privilege denied if not licensed for 180 days to 18 months. Third offense and every offense after. Felony of the third degree, punishable by a fine not to exceed $10,000, imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice TDCJ for 2 to 10 years, and suspension of the driver license or privilege denied if not licensed for 180 days to 18 months. DWI with passenger under 15. A state jail felony punishable by a fine not to exceed $10,000, confinement in state jail for 180 days to 2 years, and suspension of the driver license or privilege denied if not licensed for 90 days to 1 year. Intoxication assault third degree felony punishable by a fine not to exceed $10,000, imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice TDCJ, 42 to 10 years, and suspension of the driver license or privilege denied if not licensed for 90 days to 1 year. Intoxication, manslaughter, second-degree felony punishable by a fine not to exceed $10,000, imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice TDCJ, 42 to 20 years, and a suspension of the driver license or privilege denied if not licensed for 180 days to 2 years. Texas alcohol-related laws for adults. Implied consent laws for adults. The implied consent for adults is similar to that of minors. Like the minor, an adult implies their consent to take one or more breath or blood specimen for analysis if they are arrested for operating a motor vehicle or watercraft in a public place while intoxicated, or if they are an adult up to 21 years of age and there is any detectable or noticeable amount of alcohol in their system while operating a motor vehicle in a public place is deemed by an officer. The breath or blood specimen determines if alcohol is present in their body and will identify the amount of alcohol in their system, as well as the presence of any other controlled substances or drugs. A person who refuses to give a blood or breath specimen for analysis will have their driver license suspended for 180 days or up to 730 days for subsequent offenses. If a person submits to a blood or breath specimen and the results show a BAC of 0.08 or greater, their driver license may be suspended for 90 days or up to 365 days for subsequent offenses. Anyone with a BAC of 0.08 or more is considered intoxicated. Table 31. Penalties for DWI and DUI of alcohol or drugs adults. Offense: fine, confinement, driver license suspension. First offense: up to $2,000, 72 hours to 180 days in jail, 90 days to 365 days. Second offense: up to $4,000, 30 days to 1 year in jail, 180 days to 2 years. Third and subsequent offenses: up to $10,000, 2 to 10 years in TDCJ, 180 days to 2 years. DWI with passenger under 15, up to $10,000, 180 days to 2 years in state jail, 90 days to 2 years. Intoxication assault: up to $10,000, 2 to 10 years in TDCJ, 90 days to 2 years. Intoxication manslaughter: up to $10,000, 2 to 20 years in TDCJ, 180 days to 2 years. Know your legal limit. The legal limit in Texas is 0.08 BAC, or any amount which results in the loss of normal use of mental or physical faculties. The information provided in the alcohol and driving. Why take the risk? Table below is only a guide and is based on calculated averages. Alcohol tolerance may vary by individual. Food intake, medications, health, gender, and psychological conditions are also influential factors which affect the rate of alcohol absorption. Drivers are encouraged to take drug and alcohol awareness courses to become better educated about the effects and consequences of drugs and alcohol. Insurance companies may provide liability insurance discounts to drivers who complete drug and alcohol awareness courses. Table 32. Alcohol and driving. Why take the risk? Drink A drink may include a 12-ounce can of beer, a mixed drink with 1.5 ounces of liquor, or a 5-ounce glass of wine. They all contain approximately the same amount of alcohol. Chapter 11: Motor Vehicle Crashes. Most crashes in Texas result from speeding, failure to yield or stop appropriately, and driving under the influence of alcohol. If requested and available, exchange names, addresses, phone numbers, vehicle identification numbers, vehicle license plate numbers, driver license information, and insurance information with all drivers involved in the crash. Write the insurance company name and policy number exactly as it is shown on the driver's proof of insurance card. If you have the name of the driver's insurance company and the information is not listed directly on the insurance card, call the Texas Department of Insurance at 800-252-3439 to get the company address and telephone number. Be sure to also note the location of the crash and write down the contact information if there are any witnesses. You should always notify the appropriate law enforcement agency as soon as possible when there is an injury or fatality. The vehicles involved cannot be moved off the roadway. A driver leaves the scene of the crash. You suspect a driver is intoxicated. If you are involved in a crash that is not investigated by a law enforcement officer, and the crash has not resulted in injury or death of a person or damage to property of $1,000 or more, you must make a written report of the crash and file it with the Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT, no later than the 10th day after the date of the crash. The written report must be on a TxDOT specified form. For a copy of this form, please visit the TxDOT website at www.tex.gov. Crash resulting in injury to or death of a person. If you are operating a motor vehicle involved in a crash resulting in injury to or death of a person, you must immediately stop your vehicle at the scene of the crash or as close as possible to the scene of the crash without obstructing traffic more than necessary. If you did not stop your vehicle at the scene, you must immediately return and remain at the scene of the crash until you have complied with the following. 1. Provide your name and address, the registration number of the vehicle you were driving, and the name of your motor vehicle. Liability insurer to any person injured, or to the operator or occupant of, or person attending a vehicle involved in the collision. 2. Show your driver license, if requested and available, to any person injured, or to the operator or occupant of, or person attending a vehicle involved in the collision. 3. Provide any person injured in the crash reasonable assistance, including transporting or making arrangements for transporting the person to a physician or hospital for medical treatment, if it is apparent treatment is necessary, or if the injured person requests the transportation. Table 33. Penalties for failure to stop. Offense penalty. First offense, crash resulting in a death of a person, second-degree felony, punishable by a fine not to exceed $10,000 and imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, TDCJ, for 2 to 20 years. First offense, crash resulting in serious bodily injury, third-degree felony, punishable by a fine not to exceed $10,000 and imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, TDCJ, for 2 to 10 years. First offense, crash resulting in injury, imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, TDCJ, for up to 5 years, or confinement in the county jail for up to 1 year, a fine not to exceed $5,000, or both a fine and imprisonment. Crash resulting in damage to a vehicle. If you are operating a motor vehicle involved in a crash resulting only in damage to a vehicle that is driven or attended by a person, you must immediately stop your vehicle at the scene of the crash or as close as possible to the scene of the crash without obstructing traffic more than necessary. If the crash occurs on a main lane, ramp, shoulder, median, or adjacent area and each vehicle involved can be normally and safely driven, drivers must move their vehicle as soon as possible to a designated crash investigation site. If available, a location on the frontage road, the nearest suitable cross street, or other suitable location. If you did not stop your vehicle at the scene, you must immediately return and remain at the scene of the crash until you have complied with the following. 1. Provide your name and address, the registration number of the vehicle you were driving, and the name of your motor vehicle. Liability insurer to any person injured, or to the operator or occupant of, or person attending a vehicle involved in the collision. 2. Show your driver license, if requested and available, to any operator or occupant of, or person attending a vehicle involved in the collision. Table 34. Penalties for failure to stop. Offense penalty. First offense, less than $200 in damages, Class C misdemeanor, and is punishable by a fine not to exceed $500. First offense, $200 or more in damages, Class B misdemeanor, and is punishable by a fine not to exceed $2,000, confinement in jail for up to 180 days or both. Crash involving an unattended vehicle. If you are operating a motor vehicle that collides with and damages an unattended vehicle, you must immediately stop and either 1. Locate the operator or owner of the unattended vehicle and give your name and address. 2. Securely attach a written notice in a visible way to the unattended vehicle providing your name and address, a statement of the circumstances of the collision. Table 35. Penalties for failure to stop. Offense penalty. First offense, less than $200 in damages, Class C misdemeanor, and is punishable by a fine not to exceed $500. First offense, $200 or more in damages, Class B misdemeanor, and is punishable by a fine not to exceed $2,000, confinement in jail for up to 180 days or both. Crash resulting in damages to a fixture, landscaping, or structure. If you are driving a motor vehicle involved in a crash resulting only in damage to a fixture, landscaping, or structure legally on or adjacent to a highway, you must 1. Take reasonable steps to locate the owner or person in charge of the property and notify him or her of the crash. 2. Provide your name, address, and registration number of the vehicle you were driving. 3. If requested and available, you must show your driver license to the owner or person in charge of the property. 4. If the crash is not investigated by a law enforcement officer and the crash has not resulted in injury to or the death of a person or damage to the property of any one person to an apparent extent of $1,000 or more, you must make a written report of the crash and file it with the TxDOT no later than the 10th day after the crash. Table 36. Penalties for failure to comply with damages. Offense penalty. First offense, less than $200 in damages, Class C misdemeanor, and is punishable by a fine not to exceed $500. First offense, $200 or more in damages, Class B misdemeanor, and is punishable by a fine not to exceed $2,000, confinement in jail for up to 180 days or both. Hit-and-run crashes. If you are involved in a hit-and-run crash, report this crash to law enforcement for investigation. The Texas Department of Insurance advises uninsured motorist coverage will pay for damages in hit-and-run crashes reported to a law enforcement agency. Aiding the injured. In the event you are involved in a crash that injures another person, consider the information below. 1. When calling a doctor or ambulance, ensure you take notice of your surroundings and state the location of the crash clearly and correctly. 2. Do not assume people are not injured simply because they say they are not. Send for skilled help as quickly as possible. Unskilled handling can do more harm than good. 3. Do not move or lift the victims unless it is absolutely necessary. If a victim must be moved, get help and try not to change the position in which the victim was found. 4. Stop serious bleeding with thick cloth pads, as clean as possible. Apply with pressure by hand or by bandaging. 5. Keep the victims comfortable. If it is hot, cool the victims and provide shade as much as possible. If it is cool, cover the victim with blankets or coats if necessary and if available. Chapter 12. Pedestrian Safety. A driver should always pay special attention to pedestrians, persons on foot. However, there are certain safety rules pedestrians should follow. Laws and safety tips for pedestrians. 1. Obey traffic control signals unless otherwise directed by a pedestrian control signal. 2. Do not cross the street between two intersections. It is dangerous to cross in the middle of a street. 3. Use sidewalks when available and do not walk in the street. 4. Walk on the left side of the road if there are no sidewalks. Step off the pavement when a car approaches. 5. If you cross a street at any point other than within a crosswalk at an intersection, you, the pedestrian, must yield the right-of-way to all vehicles. 6. If you cross a street without using a pedestrian tunnel or overhead pedestrian crossing, which has been provided, you, the pedestrian, must yield the right-of-way to all vehicles. 7. When crossing at a crosswalk, keep right if possible. 8. Blind, partially blind, or disabled individuals may carry a white cane while walking. Others must not display a white cane on any public street or highway. 9. No person may stand in the road for the purpose of soliciting a ride, contributions, or business. A person may stand in a road to solicit a charitable contribution if authorized to do so by the local authority having jurisdiction over the road. 10. Do not suddenly walk or run into the street in the path of a vehicle. These sudden actions may make it impossible for the vehicle operator to yield. 11. Wait on the curb, not in the street, until the traffic signals change to green or red. Walk. 12. Always wear white or light-colored clothing or carry a light or reflector when walking at night. 13. Look both ways before crossing the street and before stepping out from behind parked cars. 14. Be extra careful when getting off a streetcar or bus. 15. Get in and out of cars on the curb side of the road when possible. 16. Do not walk on a road when you are under the influence or consuming an alcoholic beverage. Alcohol is a contributing factor to pedestrian traffic crashes. 17. Pedestrians should be aware that local authorities may have ordinances that require pedestrians to comply with the directions of an official traffic control device, signals, signs, etc., and prohibit pedestrians from crossing a road in a business district or a designated highway except in a crosswalk. Laws and safety tips for motorists. 1. If you see a pedestrian crossing or attempting to cross the street, slow down, use your horn if necessary, and be prepared to stop. 2. Be alert to a pedestrian guided by an assistance animal or carrying a white cane. The white cane indicates the person may be blind, partially blind, or disabled. A driver shall take the necessary precautions to avoid injuring or endangering a pedestrian crossing or attempting to cross the street. The driver shall bring the vehicle to a full stop if injury or danger can only be avoided by that action. 3. Watch for individuals who are blind at bus stops, intersections, business areas, and near schools for the blind. Chapter 13. Bicycle Laws and Safety. Bicycle Traffic Laws. A bicycle is a vehicle. Any person riding a bicycle has the same rights and responsibilities that apply to a driver operating a vehicle, unless these cannot, by their nature, apply to a person operating a bicycle. Any person who operates a bicycle is subject to the same penalties for violating a traffic law as a person operating a motor vehicle. All traffic convictions will be placed on the individual's driver record, regardless if the conviction was for an offense committed on a bicycle or in a motor vehicle. Deuce. 1. Always obey all traffic laws, signs, and signals. Stop at all stop signs and red lights. 2. Always ride with the flow of traffic. 3. Only ride on or astride a permanent and regular seat. 4. When operating a bicycle on a one-way road with 2 or more marked traffic lanes, ride as near as possible to the left curb or edge of the road. 5. Individuals riding 2 abreast on a laned road must ride in a single lane and not impede the flow of traffic. 6. Bicyclists may ride on the shoulder of the road. 7. Bicyclists must signal a turn or stop by using either their left arm pointing up or their right arm pointed horizontally to signal a right turn. B. Using their left arm pointed horizontally to signal a left turn. C. Using their left arm pointed downward to signal a stop. 8. A person operating a bicycle who is moving slower than the other traffic on the road shall ride as near as possible to the right curb or edge of the road unless A. The person is overtaking and passing another vehicle proceeding in the same direction. B. The person is preparing for a left turn at an intersection or onto a private road or driveway. C. There are unsafe conditions in the road such as fixed or moving objects, parked or moving vehicles, pedestrians, animals, potholes, or debris. Or D. The person is operating a bicycle in an outside lane that is less than 14 feet in width and doesn't have a designated bicycle lane adjacent to that lane. Or the lane is too narrow for a bicycle and a motor vehicle to safely travel side by side. Don'ts. 1. Never carry more than the number of individuals it is designated or equipped for. 2. Never ride opposite the flow of traffic. 3. Never attach the bicycle or person to a moving streetcar or vehicle upon a road. 4. Never carry any package, bundle, or article which prevents the rider from keeping at least one hand on the handlebars. Shared lane marking. The shared lane marking may be used to 1. Assist bicyclists with lateral positioning in a shared lane with on-street parallel parking in order to reduce the chance of a bicyclist impacting the open door of a parked vehicle. 2. Assist bicyclists with lateral position in lanes too narrow for a motor vehicle and a bicycle to travel side by side within the same traffic lane. 3. Alert road users of the lateral location bicyclists are likely to occupy within the traveled way. 4. Encourage safe passing of bicyclists by motorists. Or 5. Reduce the incidence of wrong-way bicycling. Bicycles must be properly equipped. 1. Every bicycle must be equipped with a brake, which will enable the operator to make the wheels skid on dry, level, clean pavement when applied. 2. Hearing-impaired bicycle riders may display a safety flag. 3. Every bicycle used at nighttime must be equipped with a lamp on the front emits a white light visible from a distance of at least 500 feet in front of the bicycle, and B. A red, DPS-approved reflector on the rear visible from distances of 50 feet to 300 feet. A red light on the rear, visible from a distance of 500 feet, may be used in addition to the red reflector. Bicycle safety guidelines. 1. You may be required by law to wear a helmet depending on your local laws. 2. When riding on pedestrian facilities, reduce speed and exercise caution. 3. Do not weave in and out of parked cars. 4. Move off the street to stop, park, or make repairs to your bicycle. 5. Select a route according to the rider's bicycling skill and experience. 6. Bicycles may be equipped with a mirror. 7. Wear light-colored or reflective clothing to make it easier for drivers to see you. Riding in wet weather. Water makes certain surfaces slick. Be aware of manhole covers and painted stripes on a road. Water also obscures some hazards. Watch for potholes filled with water. In addition, the visibility of motorists is greatly decreased in wet weather. Chapter 14. Additional safety tips. Defensive driving. To avoid crashes, a defensive driver should 1. Stay alert and keep eyes moving to keep track of what is happening at all times. 2. Look for trouble spots developing all around. 3. Have a plan of action. 4. Know that the law requires drivers to protect each other from their own mistakes. Safety belts. The driver and all passengers, regardless of age, in a passenger vehicle are required to use safety belts if occupying a seat in a vehicle. Equipped with a safety belt. Any child under 8 years old must be secured in a federally approved child car seat if occupying a seat in a vehicle equipped with a safety belt, unless the child is more than 4 feet 9 inches tall. Safety belt requirements include pickups, SUVs, and trucks. Safety belts help keep you 1. From being thrown from your car. Your chances of being killed are 5 times greater if you are thrown from your car. 2. From hitting the dashboard too hard. 3. In better control of your car. Whatever your reason for not wearing safety belts, it is dangerous and violates state law. Penalties for driving without a safety belt. A driver can receive a citation for not wearing his or her safety belt and for not having each child under the age of 17 in a safety seat or safety belt. Anyone who is at least 15 years of age can receive a citation for not wearing a safety belt. There are no exemptions to the safety belt laws. However, there are some defenses to prosecution for postal workers, individuals who deliver the newspaper, utility workers, solid waste truck workers, certain commercial farm vehicle operators, or medical reasons with a physician's note. Table 37. Penalties for not wearing a required safety belt. Conviction penalty asterisk. Driving a vehicle without a safety belt, a fine of $25 to $50. Passengers under 8 years old and less than 4 feet 9 inches tall riding while not properly secured in a child passenger. Safety seat system. A fine of $25 to $250. Passengers at least 15 years old riding without a safety belt, a fine of $25 to $50. Passengers under 17 years old riding without a safety belt, fine assessed to driver, a fine of $100 to $200. Children under 18 years old riding in an open bed pickup or open flatbed truck, fine assessed to driver, a fine of $25 to $200. Asterisk additional suspensions may apply. Vehicles with open beds. It is an offense to drive an open bed truck, an open flatbed truck, or to draw an open flatbed trailer when a child who is younger than 18 years of age is occupying the bed of the truck or trailer. It is a defense to prosecution that the driver was operating or towing the vehicle. 1. In a parade or in an emergency. 2. To transport farm workers from one field to another field on a farm-to-market road, ranch-to-market road, or county road, outside a municipality. 3. On a beach. 4. That is the only vehicle owned or operated by members of a household. Or 5. In a hayride permitted by the governing body of or a law enforcement agency of each county or municipality in which the hayride will occur. Vehicles with open beds towing a boat or watercraft. It is an offense for a person to operate a motor vehicle that is towing a boat or personal watercraft in or on which a person who is younger than 18 years of age is riding. It is a defense to prosecution that the driver was operating the motor vehicle. 1. In a parade. 2. In an emergency. Or 3. On a beach. Open bed passenger restrictions. It is a Class B misdemeanor to operate a truck, road tractor, or truck tractor when another person occupies a trailer or semi-trailer, being drawn by the truck, road tractor, or truck tractor. It is a defense to prosecution that the person 1. Towing the vehicle did not know another person occupied the trailer or semi-trailer. 2. Occupying the trailer or semi-trailer was in a part of the vehicle designed for human habitation. 3. Operating or towing the vehicle was A. In a parade or in an emergency. B. Transporting farm workers from one field to another field on a farm-to-market road, ranch-to-market road, or county road, outside a municipality. Or C. In a hayride permitted by the governing body of or a law enforcement agency of each county or municipality in which the hayride will occur. When stopped by law enforcement. If you are stopped by law enforcement, it is suggested you 1. Slow down and move the vehicle safely to the right of the road. 2. Park your vehicle as far to the right of the main traffic lane as possible. If available, park on the right shoulder, or, if unavailable, park on a nearby well-lighted side street or parking lot away from high-volume traffic. 3. Place the vehicle in a parking position, set the emergency brake, turn the engine off, and activate the hazard warning lights. 4. If at night, turn on the interior dome light. 5. Remain in the car. Lower the driver's window if you feel safe to do so. Keep both hands clearly in sight on top of the steering wheel. Wait for the law enforcement officer to give you instructions. An officer may approach from either side of the vehicle. 6. Tell the officer if you are transporting any type of weapon. 7. Before reaching into your glove box or under the seat to retrieve your proof of insurance or driver's license, inform the officer of where the items are located and follow the officer's directions. 8. If asked to exit the vehicle, check for passing vehicles to exit safely. 9. Advise passengers to remain in the car unless other instructions are given by the law enforcement officer. And 10. At the conclusion of the traffic stop, give the appropriate signals and safely return to the proper lane of traffic when released by the law enforcement officer. Obligations, responsibilities, courtesy, and safety. State law requires a driver to immediately stop when approached by an authorized emergency vehicle, and you may be arrested. If you do not stop immediately, if you feel the area is unsafe to stop immediately, or if you have concerns the vehicle is not a real police vehicle, you can take the following steps to minimize the risk of being arrested or charges being filed against you. Turn on your hazard lights and drive slowly and carefully below the posted speed limit. You may call 911 and remain on the phone with the operator while you stop and verify the officer's identity. You may drive to a nearby well-lighted, populated place to stop. It is important to understand that law enforcement jurisdictions overlap, and a local 911 call center operator may not be able to immediately determine what officer is working in that area at that time. If you stop in an unsafe location, such as on a bridge or a high traffic roadway, an officer may direct you over the public address speaker to move to a safer location. Follow the officer's directions. Law enforcement officers, drivers, and passengers should respond with courtesy during traffic stops and other officer/citizen interactions. Drivers and passengers should not exit the vehicle unless asked to do so. Exiting your vehicle may be perceived as aggressive behavior and a threat to the officer's safety. Drivers and passengers inside a vehicle should not attempt to reach, dig, or search for their license or insurance documents before or while an officer is approaching. Drivers who transport handguns in their vehicles are encouraged to keep them in a separate location from license and insurance documentation. During a traffic stop, the driver and any passengers are subjected to an investigative detention, which may only last for a reasonable amount of time. Passengers can ask the officer if they are free to leave and do so if the officer agrees. Law enforcement may ask questions during this time. You cannot be punished for refusing to answer questions. However, drivers are required by law to display a driver license when requested by an officer. If you are lawfully arrested, you are also required to give your name, residence, address, and date of birth. A driver or a passenger who gives law enforcement a false or fraudulent identity or false answers may be arrested. It may be to your benefit to speak to law enforcement, such as to convey the reason you may have an emergency or for the driver to provide the officer your name, address, and date of birth if you do not have your driver license with you. Law enforcement may also ask for consent to search your vehicle or person. You may grant or deny the request to search. However, if an officer has probable cause to believe that your vehicle contains evidence of a crime, it can be searched without your consent. If an officer reasonably believes that you have a weapon, the officer can conduct a pat-down search of your person and the immediate area around you, including areas of your vehicle. It is unlawful to physically resist a search, but you have the right to notify the officer that you do not consent to any search. Complaints or concerns. If you believe an officer has acted inappropriately during a traffic stop or other encounter, you should report that conduct to the officer's superiors and follow agency guidelines for submitting complaints against officers as soon as possible. Officers will normally provide their names and badge numbers on request when practical. Due to the overlapping of jurisdictions, drivers should make sure they identify the correct agency as well as any identifying aspects of the officer and law enforcement vehicle. Drivers should refrain from arguing the validity of a charge during the traffic stop or detention. Signing a citation is not admitting guilt. It simply confirms your promise to pay the fine or contact the court. If you do not agree with the charge brought against you and wish to contest it, you should argue your case before a judge or request a jury trial and acquire the services of an attorney to represent you. False identification offense. A person commits an offense if he or she gives a false or fictitious name to a law enforcement officer who is lawfully arrested or detained the person. Evading arrest or detention. A person commits an offense if he intentionally flees from a person he knows is a peace officer or federal special investigator attempting to lawfully arrest or detain him or her. You will be subject to higher penalties if you use a vehicle or watercraft while evading arrest or cause injury to another person. Road rage. Each year, road rage, also referred to as aggressive driving, causes hundreds of injuries and deaths. Aggressive driving occurs when a driver becomes angry or irritated and as a result, fails to follow the rules of the road. An aggressive driver will intentionally aggravate or attempt to aggravate other drivers, and in some cases cause bodily injury, property damage, or death to others. Tips to avoid road rage. 1. Plan your trip or schedule in advance. Allow extra time in case your vehicle breaks down or you encounter traffic congestion due to a crash, road construction, or rush hour traffic. 2. When caught in traffic, do not get angry. Try to relax and listen to music you enjoy. Remember, traffic congestion is usually temporary and you will soon be on your way. 3. Should you need to use the horn, tap the horn. Do not hold down the horn. Do not confront other drivers or make obscene gestures. 4. Do not cut into another driver's lane of traffic. Properly signal your intentions to change lanes and change lanes when it is safe. To do so, turn your turn signal off after you complete your lane change. 5. Do not intentionally slow down, slam on your brakes, or speed up to keep someone from passing or entering your lane of travel. 6. Do not tailgate. Follow at a safe distance. 7. Always remember to drive friendly and report aggressive driving to the local authorities. Neighborhood electronic vehicles and motor-assisted scooters. A neighborhood electronic vehicle is defined as a vehicle subject to Federal Motor Safety Standard 500 with a top speed of 35 miles per hour on a paved level surface. A motor-assisted scooter is defined as a self-propelled device with 1. At least 2 wheels in contact with the ground. 2. A braking system capable of stopping the device under normal operating conditions. 3. A gas or electric motor not exceeding 40 cubic centimeters. 4. A deck designed to allow a person to stand or sit while operating the device. And 5. The ability to be propelled by human power alone. Both vehicles may only be operated on a street or highway when the posted speed limit is 45 miles per hour or less for a neighborhood electronic vehicle and 35 miles per hour or less for a motor-assisted scooter. Electronic Personal Assistive Mobility Devices, EPAMD. EPAMDs, such as a Segway, is defined as a two non-tandem wheel device designed for transporting one person that is self-balancing and propelled by an electric propulsion system with an average power of 750 watts or 1 horsepower. And a PAMD may be operated on 1. A sidewalk. 2. A path set aside for the exclusive operation of a bicycle. 3. On a residential street, road, or public highway with a maximum speed limit of 30 miles per hour only. A. While making a direct crossing of a highway in a marked or unmarked crosswalk. B. Where no sidewalk is available. Or C. When so directed by a traffic control device or law enforcement officer. When operated on a public roadway, an EPAMD shall be ridden as close as practicable to the right-hand edge. Your keys to safe driving. A good vision. Obey traffic laws. A proper care of vehicle. Don't depend on yearly inspections. Perform regular maintenance as needed. A courtesy. Safety comes before the right of way. A proper signaling. Failure to signal is dangerous and inconsiderate. A fitness to drive. Let someone else drive if you are not physically or mentally alert. Transporting cargo and materials. To prevent cargo or loose materials from falling or spilling from a car, truck, trailer, etc. onto the road and causing a crash or damage. To the roads, drivers must comply with certain state requirements. A vehicle must be equipped and maintained to prevent loose material from escaping by blowing or spilling, and a vehicle bed must 1. Not have a hole, crack, or other opening through which loose material can escape. 2. Be enclosed by side panels and on the front by a panel or the vehicle cab. 3. Be enclosed by a securely closed tailgate or panel on the rear to prevent spillage. 4. Cover the load securely at the front and back of the load, unless completely enclosed in a compartment or the load does not blow or spill over the load-carrying compartment. No person shall load or transport any loose material on or over the public highways, such as dirt, sand, gravel, wood chips, or other material except agricultural products in their natural state, capable of blowing or spilling from a vehicle unless 1. The bed carrying the load is completely enclosed on both sides and on the front and rear by a tailgate, board or panel, and all must be so constructed as to prevent the escape of any part of the load by blowing or spilling. And 2. The top of the load is covered with a canvas, tarpaulin, or other covering firmly secured to the front and back to prevent the escape of the load because of blowing or spilling. This requirement does not apply to any load-carrying compartment that completely encloses the load, or B. The transporting of any load of loose materials not blowing or spilling over the top of the load-carrying compartment. Safety chains. Safety chains are required when certain types of vehicles are towing trailers in order to prevent the trailer from breaking loose and causing a serious crash. A person may not drive a passenger car or light truck while towing a trailer, semi-trailer, or house trailer on a public highway in Texas unless safety chains are attached from a trailer, semi-trailer, or house trailer to the towing vehicle. The types of safety chains and the manner of attachment must be approved by DPS. The requirements of this law do not apply to a passenger car or light truck towing a trailer or semi-trailer used for agricultural purposes, or to any trailer or semi-trailer or house trailer operated in compliance with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. Towing. When one vehicle is towing another, the drawbar, chain, rope, cable, or other connection must 1. Not be longer than 15 feet from one vehicle to another. 2. Be strong enough to pull all weight drawn. 3. Attach a white flag not less than 12 inches square. 4. Not tow more than 3 vehicles attached to it by mounting the front wheels of trailing vehicles on the bed of another vehicle, and leaving only the rear wheels in contact with the roadway. This limit does not apply to trailers transporting poles, pipes, machinery, or other structures that cannot be easily dismembered. Carbon monoxide. Beware of carbon monoxide poisoning. Cars produce carbon monoxide, which is a deadly gas. Make sure you are getting plenty of fresh air. Don't. 1. Leave the motor running in a garage. 2. Leave vents open when following closely behind another car. 3. Leave the motor running and the windows closed while the car is parked. 4. Drive with a defective muffler or exhaust system. 5. Use the heater or air conditioner in a parked car with the windows closed in an enclosed space. If you encounter a carbon monoxide poisoning victim, move them to fresh air and call 911. As a driver, you should know all the safety and operational features of the vehicle you are driving. Make sure you and your passengers are traveling in a vehicle that is safe and in good working order. Drive safely and obey all criminal and traffic laws. Driving with Disability Program. Communication impediment with a peace officer is an optional restriction code offered on Texas state ID and driver license for those wanting to alert law enforcement of a challenge with communication. Physician-signed form required. If you want to place the code for communication impediment with a peace officer on your Texas ID or driver license, ask your doctor to complete Form DL-101 https://www.dps.texas.gov/internet/forms/DL101.pdf and present it at the driver license office. The code will go on the back of your license, similar to other codes like organ donor or corrective lenses. The option for disclosure of a communication disability/impediment when registering a vehicle through the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles is also available. The communication impediment will then be privately placed in the Texas law enforcement telecommunication system, TLETS, thus alerting the officer of the challenge prior to approaching the vehicle in a pullover scenario. Form VTR 216 https://www.txdmv gov/site/default/files/form_files/VTR 216.pdf must be completed by a licensed physician if the applicant has a physical health condition, or a licensed physician, licensed psychologist, or a non-physician mental health professional if the applicant has a mental health condition. Present this form when you register your vehicle with Texas DMV. For more information on Driving with Disability Program, please visit Texas Driving with Disability Office of the Texas Governor. Greg Abbott, https